So I'm the founder of BioBullet, and running and managing that business. And then I have another company that's very old, it's 28 years old, and so I'm the founder of that as well. And so I'm managing both in parallel. So is a every day is a challenge. Just work to get done and etc. So
I hear you. It's always a good thing to be busy. Ever since I went to SHOT Show, I've been trying to get a little bit more busy with this podcast. And honestly, I couldn't tell you the last time I actually had a break to do anything for myself other than podcasting and work. So staying busy.
yeah,
But
yeah,
next week I'll be
yeah.
getting to the range.
So I haven't been to SHOT Show yet. Um, just haven't taken the time for that. Uh, but I think I'll try to do that for next year for 2026.
Would you think about buying a booth, or would you
So I would go as a visitor. Our services aren't really relevant for buying a booth. Uh, the Shot Show is marketing toward retailers and gun shops, etc. Um, and our services are more toward civilians, to citizens. And it just we could do so, but I don't think that it would add up as making much sense, being much value. And that's also the advice I've had from others, from industry, just insights from industry, from manufacturers that are like, it's not it wouldn't be a strong play for Buy a Bullet, toward the ultimate purpose as it goes for SHOT Show.
gotcha? I'd recommend trying it out first and then seeing how you like it, because I went there thanks to the assistance of another company, Tardigrade Industries, and they have this cutting edge eyewear that could literally prevent ocular injuries, and they're trying to market it to the military because majority of the injuries are those of the ocular nature.
Yep.
The industry standard is about 620 something FPS, and his goes all the way up to, on paper, three times that. Off paper, recently being tested, I'd say it could probably go up to in the 3000s. That's the unofficial number as far as stopping shrapnel, such as what's it called, spalling, or just shrapnel coming from ricochets, or just anything that would go towards the ocular area. So, um, but when I went, my only focus was to try and help promote the business, despite the fact that I was also there for my podcast. And
Mhm.
that's when I learned it was you're literally in the ocean. You're out of the fish tank, so to speak, and you're in the ocean. And then there's so many big fish out there. Some of them friendly, some of them not. Some of them just don't want anything to do with it. You just,
Mhm.
you got to experience it for yourself. And if you don't have a plan, then all 4 days you're going to go in there, and by the fourth day you are going to be worn out. Um, Not
Mhm.
just because you're expending your energy, but because there's this mythological thing called the SHOT Show creep. Because again, or rather the SHOT Show crud, not the creep, but again, it's a large convention, which means that you're going to have a lot of people who may be clean, may not be clean.
Mhm.
Yeah, take your meds.
So I've attended over my career. So with my other company,
Mhm.
um, I have a I have attended many uh, um, industry day events and SHOT Show equivalents. Uh, and yeah, that's pretty normal because you get people coming in from all kinds of different locations as well as countries,
Mhm.
typically. And yeah, so you definitely have to. It's wise and advisable to 2 days before, start ramping up on Tylenol, hydrate a lot, just basically building up your defenses,
Yes.
your health defenses prior to arrival, and then eating well. So if your diet is normally road food, so to speak, for those that are sales and marketing, airport food, that type of thing, then spend the prior 72 hours to 48 hours just eating clean food so you can get a good basis. for defense, white blood cells, etc. So you can walk away and not be jammed up.
Definitely, and I definitely agree with that. And I was lucky not to get it because I was
Yeah.
fully hydrated. Next time I'll probably buy a bag of oranges and just snack on them for all 4 days. I don't know, but
yeah, for real though. Oranges, apples,
Mhm.
bananas, just clean food, just good food.
It seems like you got like an extremely well oriented and extremely well perceived mindset as far as just being able to try and provide the best of anything. And I can easily see how that applies to your business acumen as well. So that's just good that it translates over.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you much. By the way, I don't want to ignore that ranged therapist just popped in. Hey there,
This is
Will.
true.
What up? What up? Sorry I'm late.
No,
That's
you right
okay.
on time. Right on
You're going to be
time as
buying the
always.
oranges for the convention.
What is that?
You're going to be buying the oranges for the convention since you were late. So.
Am I the soccer mom? Do I provide the orange wedges?
Well, I mean, it depends. Do you drive a van or a SUV or?
No, I'll rent one though. Make sure I come with a nice bag of orange wedges. I got you.
That's funny. But yeah, thank you much for the kudos on that. And my view is just do the best you can. Um, that's my manner in pretty much everything. Just do the best you can. If you can't be the best, that's okay. That's all right. Just don't be the last. Don't be the least. Do the best you can.
That's a good outlook. Will, do you think you can echo that sentiment as well?
Absolutely. Without question. It's really just being the best you can be. Sometimes it's out of your control. Sometimes it's not. But if you're putting forth all the effort and taking the necessary steps and precautions along the way, then you'll be in a good position no matter what happens.
Yeah, facts.
Sounds like I need to change my mindset. I'm definitely trying to get back into a good position. Ended up getting a desk job over these last couple of years. I say about 2 to 3 years, and ironically enough, I've been with the company that I've been working for I want to say 19 years. And the first 8 of those, I was physically active in extremely harsh weather, be it rain, snow, sun, and my body was in a lot better shape, especially since I was younger back then than I am now. And I have a goal to get back into better shape because I would like to go to the tactical games. That's going to require endurance, stamina, as well as discipline. So this month, going to apply that acumen that y'all are both talking about.
Yeah.
As someone that's spent over a decade in the fitness industry, it starts with your food. That's your foundation. What you eat and what you don't eat.
Definitely.
What you drink, what you don't drink. So that's your foundation that you're going to build everything else on top of.
This is true.
Super fact. So you dumb lucky happen to have caught up with 2 individuals that are very much into fitness, and just the same as Will has a background in fitness. I did too, which is my prior career, but that was ages ago. And then prior to that, I had been a competitive athlete for decades, and as it goes, and including in shooting sports. And so as it goes to the tactical games or SWAT challenge is another one that I'm familiar with. What you're going to want to do is, just as Will said, it starts with the kitchen, starts with the diet. People want to go and join their Planet Fitness or Anytime Fitness or wherever, or they watch a Rocky movie and they're like, okay, I'm going to go put on some Pro Kids and go run for 10 miles. That's how you jam yourself up. Start out slow, start out light, start out with the things that you can affect most directly. And that most commonly, very commonly, are the things that you put in your mouth. And from there, the caloric load, basically metabolic load that you have to manage. So the calories in, and then your metabolism is expending those calories that you've taken in, and then the waste, of course, goes out. And so start there with your diet. But I don't mean dieting like eating less food. I mean in a nutritional manner. Start there and then build up slowly but progressively and consistently as it goes to the exertion component, which is exercise. And it's no different. That is no different than it is in shooting sports or in the shooting area that we're here to talk about as it goes to training, which I'm sure Will agree with me on that too. You start small, do what you can, compound that, build up on it, and develop. And from the ammunition area, it's like you start out with 22. That's something I always suggest. But since before buy a bullet, start with 22. Or if you're going to start with a shotgun for some reason, that's fine. Lots of children start with shotguns. Start them out with 410. Don't give them a 12 gauge or 20 gauge. 410. Build up skill sets, build up capability, familiarity, and then go from there.
Makes sense. Wish I would have had somebody giving me guidance whenever I got into my firearm journey, because I started out with was 9mm for the pistol and 300 blackout for the rifle.
Yeah. So here's the thing about that. This happens a lot in all the communities. People give people as an introduction what those people either were told to start with or what those people feel most comfortable with. And the thing is, as it goes to shooting sports, the thing is, it's unfortunate and it's unfair to start persons out with full power cartridges, such as 9mm and 300 BO. And the reason for that is that when a person is brand new, when they're first starting out, they're a complete novice. They have agreed to participate because they have an interest. They have some curiosity. The last thing to do is give that person open the door to that person, something that could potentially turn them off. So I'm going to use another analogy. Amusement parks, because I'm a dad. I'm a dad, and my children are now adults. But when you take your kids to an amusement park, you don't put them in the biggest roller coaster that you can find. You start them out on that little small joint, right? Everybody knows this. That has half a wit. You start them out on the little small one. It just goes like this. It's just got the rises and the dips, and it's not so scary. It doesn't make them lose their lunch, and etc. Then you can build them up. You take them to a couple of county fairs, and then they go on the roundy round thing that goes up up and down like that. That's how you do it. But you just put somebody straight away on the full power, and okay, they may hang in there and enjoy it, but they might not come back. And that's the whole point as it goes to the 2A community, is to get people to stay interested and come back, and then to stay interested and seek out training, and to stay interested and buy more ammo, and stay interested and pick up a few more guns. But if you start them out with just a random 9mm, and I'm going to bet it was a compact.
Well, actually, it was for me, it was a mid-size. It was
Mid-size.
a Mechanic TP9.
Okay. All right. It's super common for people to give someone a compact and then wonder, like, why do they don't want to come back? Because the recoil sucks and it hurts. And they look at the target and they meant to shoot here, and it's over there and over there and over there. And they're like, who wants to, like, oh, I'm terrible, so I don't want to do it again. But if you start them out with a 22, the recoil, there is recoil. Of course, we all know that. There is recoil, but it's far less, and it's much easier to manage for a novice. So then they start out and they walk away with thumbs up. And they're like, wow, that was fun. That was interesting. And it wasn't horrible. It wasn't scary. And then the same with rifle. There's no reason to start a person out with 300 blackout. Just give them a 22. Start them out with a Marlin 60, a Ruger 1022, a Savage. There's so many options. Start out with the 22.
Well, my mistake wasn't that I couldn't handle the caliber action-wise. I just couldn't handle the caliber price-wise, because as soon as I got done going to the range, I looked at how much it was for at least a box of 20. I said, what's the next least expensive caliber, and I went down to 5.56 223. So that's a little bit more manageable, but
Oh yes,
let me tell you.
especially 30. Yeah, my first gun was a 45. I bought a Glock 21C, so a ported 21 or 45 caliber, but it was a soft shooter. But same thing with the ammo price. I'm like, wait a minute, 9. When I switched over to 9, I'm like, it's literally half the price. I'm like, oh no. Let's go. I can shoot twice as much for the same. Oh yeah, let's switch.
And on my end, same story. I advise people to start with 22. You can get, prior to the pandemic, you could pick up a 525 round box of 22. That's 525 chances, opportunities to develop trigger time, to get skill set development. 525 rounds for the same price as a 50 round 9mm box, Winchester white box at Walmart at that time. Fast forward to present, that 525 has been reduced by the manufacturers generally down to 325, but that's still 325 rounds, 325 trigger presses, 325 opportunities to do your sight alignment and get your body alignment. If you're shooting rifle, get your body alignment and to learn how to actually shoot, as opposed to just 50 rounds or 20 rounds with 223 and 5.56. It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Invest in 22, develop skill sets, build up, and get past the worry and the concern for other shooters around you wanting to make fun of you and say, "Oh, you just that's you're just shooting 22," which I'll share a story if I might, if you guys will allow it.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
happened to me. So this was this is a few years back now. It was pre-pandemic, but I am absolutely, as you can probably tell, a really big fan of skill sets. Skill sets is what matters. I don't care if a person owns like 10, 15 handguns, 13 ARs that they assembled at their home. That doesn't mean anything to me. That means zero. What actually matters is skill set, capability to do something. So with that, this particular day, I had brought my Bullseye 22 handgun, and I was doing bullseye training for myself. So it's my own trigger time development, and I'm standing at the range and I'm just working on the fundamentals, trigger press, sight alignment. I happen to shoot targets at far distance that are small, and these two dudes had shown up with a Smith & Wesson 500. They didn't know that. I got ahead. They show up with a Smith & Wesson 500, and they're 2 bays over. And it was the Hunter model, which is a 6-inch barrel. And they had brought a whole bunch of ammo, and they were just shooting off rounds. And they come back. So the way that the bays are, it's an outdoor range. So the way that the bays are set up, I'm shooting, and I had multiple targets hung up. So I'm engaging multiple targets. So I wasn't at the norm like most people shoot right at the the tray or that level area where you put down your gun. I was away from it because I'm engaging multiple targets. And so they see me shooting, and I'm just shooting 22. And I'm wearing my ear pro that is electronic, so I can hear people talking. Actually, I can hear people talking, and it boosts it for me. So these two cats are giggling and having a ha-ha time at my expense between them, not knowing that I could hear them. And so they were going on about, I'm shooting 22, and that's just for kids. And it's grown men. These at that time, I'm 55 now. At that time, I was like 49 or 50. And these two dudes were easily in their mid 60s. They're too old to be commenting about, just having that kind of goofy conversation. We're just too old for that. It's not in high school anymore. But so they were going back and forth with each other. And then one of them comes over, or one says to the other, I'm going to invite him. I'm going to ask him to come shoot this. It's going to be hilarious. I'm paraphrasing, but they were thinking it was going to be hilarious and the gun's going to blow me up. So one of them comes over and asks me if I'd like to shoot, and say, "Oh, it's a Smith & Wesson 500, blah, blah, blah. And this is going to be fun." No. What they didn't know that I'm a former demonstrator for Smith & Wesson Corporation. They didn't know that I have fired that Smith & Wesson 500 in ammo far more times than they in their lifetime that they could ever accumulate in trigger time. They didn't know that I've run through the entire product catalog at Smith & Wesson, and they didn't know. And the funny thing is, I was wearing my Smith & Wesson range hat, but they didn't look at it. They just didn't look at it. It says Smith & Wesson on the front. It's a red hat. You cannot buy these. You can't. They're assigned to you. They're given to you. You can't buy one. So I didn't know a lot. And so I said, yeah. And I just played it. I was like, yeah. And I didn't state that I could hear what they said. So I was like, yeah, that'd be fun. So I walk over there and the guy's telling me, you got to be careful. And, I'm only going to give you one round because it's probably going to be all this other yada, yada. So, and there's a video of this at my YouTube page. So this is actually, it really did happen. And the video is there. So they give me the gun and load it with one round, and he misloaded it. So I go to extend, and I can see that the round was in the wrong chamber.
Right.
Then I pulled the gun back, I reset it, and I fired. And what happens? Not only did I hit the target, which they weren't, they were just there to feel recoil and hear noise. I hit the target, but I shot the target through the center of the target. And so I take the shot, I put the gun down, and then I pick up my phone, which was recording, and I go, hey, hi. And they introduce themselves, and they're looking stunned. You can see this in the video. They're looking like,
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, and there's like one guy's like Joe and the other one's Mark or whatever. And I was like, yeah, and this was fun. And then I kill the phone, and then I tell them who I was, and then I go back. And so they pull the target in, and they're just like, nothing more to say. And then they left. They were there like 10 minutes, and then they rolled out. So my point is, in sharing that long story, start out and develop and stay with 22. It will get you the skill sets that you need very inexpensively. And you get the reps, you get the trigger time. And then once you learn the reps and you learn the trigger time, you don't lose that. It doesn't go away. It doesn't degrade. You keep it. You stay there. And once you advance beyond to 300 BO and 9mm, and I hunt with 4570, which is a high recoil round, lots of energy. I still am shooting 22, and the techniques and the methodology transfers over. It's just the same, only recoil's greater. That's it. Everything else is the same.
Yeah, I spent probably the better part of almost 3 years, almost exclusively shooting 22. And you don't know how many people will comment on my videos. Oh, you only did that because it's a 22. Like, yeah, you can think that if you want, buddy. But that is not the case at all.
That's the other thing. So Will, it's hilarious. And Everett, you probably know this as well. So it's hilarious. People think that, okay, because 22 doesn't have any recoil, okay, which we all know it does. But let's run with that. Okay, so 22 doesn't have any recoil. So then your ability to align the front sight with the rear sight onto the target into a small area rather than a gross area, like my whole torso, into a small area, such as my right eye, my left eye, or the area of my mouth, the circumference of my mouth, it shouldn't be a problem then, right? It should be easy. Go ahead and knock that out. Make it happen. Make it happen. And then what happens? They don't make it happen. And then that's where the excuses come in. Oh, I didn't have my breathing right. I pressed the trigger. I didn't have the digit. I had it here instead of down here, or vice versa. Nonsense, bullshit. But Bravo Sierra, no.
I mean, you got to call it what it is. It
22
is
exposes. 22, it teaches you, and it exposes your weaknesses. It exposes your failure in following the fundamentals. And this is super easy to show and demonstrate to anybody, anywhere, and repeat and validate. 22 for the win. If you can shoot 22 well, you can shoot anything well.
Sounds like I need to invest in a 22 then, and actually that would save a lot more money versus a
Gang of money.
yeah.
And you happen to another thing, dumb luck. You happen to have met someone that I don't know can get you squared away with ammo at outstanding prices.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because that was going to be my next segue. Seems like the warm up conversation is going pretty well. But if you two gentlemen are ready to introduce yourself, we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right.
So I'm Henry Pope, and I'm the founder and president of BuyABullet Corporation. We're known as BuyABullet.com online. We're also known as BuyABullet Corp among pretty much all of the socials, X, Twitter/X, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Rumble. We're everywhere. So everywhere except for Facebook, which has been a massive issue. We were on Facebook, and then it's just been Facebook has been horrible. Meta Corporation has been horrible to try to do business with, and then not just specific to us, but to the two-way community broadly. But we're everywhere else other than Facebook, and and we're to our second year of business, and out here rocking and rolling. And I'm going to transition to Will from Range Therapist. He's our brand ambassador. And that's something new that we put together. Not an influencer at all. I didn't want to be. You can hire and pay somebody and put them on payroll to say nice things about you, and like, what is that? That's it's not real. It's plastic. And so our brand ambassador is a person that understands the motivations and the thoughts behind what we're doing at BuyABullet, and agrees with our position. And I agree with what Will's doing with his business, which is outstanding as an instructor and a trainer. So that's my entree for Will. And there you go, bro. Pick it up.
Appreciate it. I appreciate
Run with it.
My name is Will. I'm owner of Range Therapist Firearms Training. I teach people in person and online, whether it's through live Zoom, dry fire sessions. I've even done live sessions where the student was at the range, and I've also done video breakdowns where I can analyze the video that you send to me, so you don't have to be in my area, which is Central Florida. So yeah, and I'm a competition shooter. Well, I shoot competitions, I should say. My mindset is a little bit different. Outside of that, I can be found on everything. It's pretty much Range Therapist, rangetherapist.com. I'm at range.therapist on Instagram, on TikTok, Range Therapist on YouTube, and Range Therapist on Facebook.
Well, I know, Henry, this is our first time talking. And Will, it's nice to finally meet you face to face, man. You kind of remind me of somebody I talked to a long time ago. I think he used to go by I Run and I Gun, I believe, and he had some locks.
That guy's crazy.
Yeah, I know, he's good. I mean, I don't know who's the better one of you two, but
I'm the better. I'm definitely the better one. Don't trust that guy. Don't trust that guy at all.
Well, it's an honor to have you back, brother. I mean,
I appreciate
you. I know we've tried to have I've been trying to orchestrate a sit down with you and Jamarcus and oh God, there's another guy. Seeing as how all three of you did competition, and I was going to pick y'all's brains, but like trying to line up schedules is hard. And now that Henry also does competition shooting too. I mean, I think it would be kind of cool to have like a quad panel, if you will, of competition shooters talking about different backgrounds and what they had to go through, so on and so forth. But that can come later on.
Yeah,
we can definitely do that.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. That would be totally up for doing another interview with you, another podcast. That would be fun.
Yeah, and all my guests are always welcome back. It's not like a one and done. Like, all right, cool. We talked about BuyABullet. See y'all later. Good luck. It's never like that. Never like that. So always welcome back.
Alrighty.
Except for that I Run and Gun guy. I don't know about him.
Yeah. Notice how you haven't seen that guy in a while, man. He may or may not be tied up in my closet. I don't know.
He had good hat selection, but I mean, you know,
Oh
may
my
he rest
goodness.
in peace. Well, I'll go ahead and kick us off with the first question then. What inspired the creation of Buy a Bullet, and how did the name come about?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'll answer that in reverse order. The this was this was originally a project, and it's been a long horizon activity. And the project name was called something else, and I won't say what it is because we have that copyrighted, and I hold the domain for it, etc. But I just don't feel like dealing with people trying to jump on it, and the world is what it is. But
Yeah.
it was called something else, just as a working project name. Um, for my background, my professional background, project management and doing projects has been just an ongoing core of experience. So we always assign a name to a working project name. And so the Buy a Bullet came along because we had several different uh, semi-realized terms to use that one would fit to a web search well, something that was not taken already, and something that a person could type in and it would be within a certain amount of characters that is effectively easy. And then two, something that persons could average Americans could remember. And so things like Google, um, that worked out because at that time frame, URLs and domains were still new. So remembering Google wasn't hard because you didn't have that many domains to remember in the first place. That was new.
Mm.
So for our industry, there are so many businesses, companies, providers, and common URLs that people are having to remember. We wanted something that would stick in the mind and just be easy. If you told them, they would get it. And then the third item was something that visually in text, such as looking at it right now on screen where it says Henry Pope at buyabullet.com, something that visually in text was appealing, that would draw the eye to it. And which I like to my past, I no longer do instruction now because I'm focused on Buy a Bullet. But when I was working with students, I would tell them to keep it simple and and this is toward whether you're shooting toward a human being, a threat, or if it's hunting, look to the thing that draws your eye the most, and from there scale up or scale down. And so in the case of Buy a Bullet, looking at that on text, and I did various experiments where we wrote it out, typed it up on screen, and etc. And along with other variables, we wanted something that strongly drew the eye, and we ended at Buy a Bullet. And now the answer to why the company was developed, it goes back to 2 points. In 2019, my son then was in ninth grade and going into 10th. And we had dinner one night, and I was talking to him about what his dad does for work. And he didn't have any understanding or comprehension of what exactly I did for work and the development of my business, et cetera. And that's been in place for decades and is well known. And I've got a lot of accolades in that space, et cetera. It's in federal government. And so I was like, it would be fun to think of an idea, think of a thing, and that the two of us could work on, and to create a company, create a business. And then he would get an understanding of what it's like to be a business person, right? And he was like, yeah, I'm game for that. And then along with that, so that's one avenue. But then another avenue is that I was looking for a new challenge.
Mm.
And so it was the two came together at once, and I went through an inventory, and I do this, it's a real thing I do. I went through an inventory, or what are the things that I know? What are the things that I'm expert at? Because I know a lot of things, but I'm not expert in them. And then what are the things of that that I actually enjoy and like? So there's a lot that I know. There's a lot of things that I'm expert at, but I don't necessarily enjoy them. I've just picked them up because of work. And the two-way industry, I absolutely enjoy. I know it well. I'm expert at it. I like it a lot. And providing knowledge and education to people has been a strong draw for me. And to provide service. All of my businesses to the past have been service-based, and this too. So that's the story.
Very interesting. Wow. Especially I like how you utilize the SEO of the name itself. Because like you said, sometimes when people go in and if they type in the letters BUY, 10,000 options come up, and then on top of that, you have to fight out the paid options. You know, the people that pay to have their name put up first for anybody else on the first page. So
Yeah.
that was a really good idea, and it's a very simple name that speaks volumes. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like it. Definitely like it. So your mission focuses on use case and best value. Can you break that down, and how should customers be thinking when choosing ammo or gear?
Yes. 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 So again, to my background, and I'm a specialist in procurement in the federal space, and for procurement is a fancy word for purchasing and acquiring things or services, people. And as it goes to procurement, and this applies in the commercial sector as well. So not just government, not just federal or state or US. It applies to international governments and international corporations as well. When doing the decision making toward the acquisition of a product or service, and we provide Viability provides both. We are both a product provider and we are a service provider. So in the acquisition of a product or service, you normally go through a checklist of value positions. And so it's not just on, oh, who has the lowest price of a thing? Because if that were true, then we'd all have been riding Huffy bicycles when we were kids, right? Huffy and Murray, the cheapest bikes around.
Right.
And I picked that on purpose because that's something all of us can identify with, right? Huffy
Mhm.
and Murray, whether you're a girl or a boy, Huffy and Murray bicycles, straight out of Walmart, or in my era from the bike shop, and they were always the joints in the back. They were never in the front at the front window. It's just facts, bro. You know.
Give me
I definitely had a
flashbacks.
Huffy.
I think my first bike was I think it was a Huffy, and I'll never forget. It was like black with the little thunderbolts and everything on it. You know, just this super detailed graphic design thunderbolts on the front of the bike, and yeah. Now I'm having a flashback to when my training wheels came off, and I just straight shot
Yep.
going down the sidewalk, and I wasn't used to stopping yet without the training wheels. So my dad's watching me, and I'm just getting it all the way towards the ditch. This is like one of those sewer ditches too. So you know you got a little aluminum metal. Yeah, it was gonna be bad, but thankfully my dad outran the bike and he stopped me.
Dad's for the win. Dad's for the win.
Oh, bad memories. Anyway.
So yeah, you can make a procurement decision on lowest cost or cheapest cost, but you get what you get what you pay for. Every adult, anybody that's made it past 16, 17 years old, they know this by now. That too is just a fact of life. You know it by now. Focus on the cheapest cost. So, okay, it costs the least, but is it going to actually do what I need? Is it going to allow me to perform in the case of ammunition? Is it going to allow me to perform at a level that I have even a basic expectation for? And is this product, this cheapest, is this product even safe to use? And so again, going to the Huffies and the Murrays, that was pretty much the lowest of the cheap, And then you could go below that. And then those are the frame breakers, which we used to call them when I was a kid. So you do one jump and your frame is broke. You're done.
Mhm.
Or your rim of a taco, they just bend over, or your fork, you know, because in my era, we didn't have straight forks. We had a bend. It was like a banana. And so you do a jump and you land, and the whole thing would just collapse. So, you know, your people knew, you know, you know, your people didn't know that they bought you this for Christmas or whatever, but you bring it out on the streets and you try to do some jumps with with the kids, and you know, you were just done for. You might as well just go home, you know, and it's horrible. So
Ride it
what,
slow.
what we do in government and what's done in commercial space is to look for best value, application, and use case. Best value, application, and use case. So first, you figure out what the heck why am I buying a thing or service at all? What do I need it for? Application. So as it goes to ammunition, am I a new shooter? Okay. Or am I an experienced shooter? Okay. And what am I shooting? Why am I actually pulling the trigger at all? Am I shooting at paper targets, wad cutters? Am I shooting at steel, frangible? Am I shooting am I hunting black bear, shotgun, slug, or sabo? Or am I hunting deer, buck, or rifle? What is my application? Then from there, use case. So again, is it a thin-skinned animal? Deer, eastern deer. Is it a thick-skinned or heavy-bodied animal? Moose, elk. Am I shooting at black bear that has normally a lot of body fat, especially in the winter, a lot of body fat that I have to get kinetic energy through? And am I shooting at steel? And if I'm shooting at steel, am I shooting oh man, what's the name of the well, help me. What's the name of the USPSA Steel Challenge? Duh. USPSA Steel Challenge. So Steel Challenge has some of the steel targets that are relatively close, or about 10 yards, 15 yards, and there are others that are further out. And so am I shooting at targets that are close enough that for frangible, and IDPA used to use steel, but not so much anymore. Am I shooting at targets that are close enough that I could get backsplash, that I could get spray? And I was just explaining this to someone last week in a call. If I'm shooting at a target, again on use case, if I'm shooting at a target that's distant 30 yards, even 50 yards out, and I need to just hear the ring or see the splash, then I might want to use a lighter projectile. So 115 grain, for example, with a 9mm, or 124 grain. But if I need to knock down the target, or I need a strong aggressive ring, then I might want to choose 147 grain. And the reason for that is because of just the simple math of physics. Heavier things hit things at the same velocity, heavier things hit things harder. Again, going back to childhood, we all know that. Throw a baseball at a thing, the same kid throw a baseball at a thing, and that's going to result in like a glass or a wall. It's going to result in an impact. But you throw a tennis ball, the same kid throws a tennis ball. Yeah, he can wing it faster, but it's a lot less. Or to use football, Nerf football versus a Pop Warner Pee Wee League football versus a regulation football. We all have done. These are things we've all experienced. They're facts. It's facts. So application and then use case, and then after that, best value. So now, if you understand your application, why are you even out here? What's the purpose, use case? Then you look at what the market offerings are. And the market offerings aren't just let me just buy the least costly, let me buy the Huffy because it's literally a bike that has pedals, and when I pedal it, it moves. Okay, if that's your market, for you as a consumer, if that's your view of things, fine, knock yourself out. Especially if you're only going to ride the bike once or twice a year and you're never going to do jumps. Okay, but if you are and you don't have to be Lance Armstrong, you don't have to be like a never user and then the extreme user, right? There is a large amount of middle. And so if you're going to actually want to enjoy cycling, and I pick cycling because I'm a cyclist, I love cycling. if you actually want to enjoy the outing, and whether it be cycling or shooting, and if you actually want to develop some skill sets and capabilities and progressively grow, then the smart way to view procurement or purchasing as a civilian is to look for best value and to understand what the market broadly offers. And so that's where Buy a Bullet, that's why I created Buy a Bullet as an idea, because as an instructor, I was annoyed with having to go to Walmart, Cabela's, um, all the big box stores. Everybody knows them. Academy, for those that live in the southern states, they don't have them in New England. That's a southern state thing. Um, and the online retailers, and just the standard American stuff. Winchester White Box, Remington Green Box, aka UMC, which stands for Union Metal Carbide. It's their old company that was a manufacturer of primers before Remington acquired them. Hornady and Winchester, right? But the world is large. America offers a lot of products. Corbin, for example, I'm a huge fan of. Barnes, I'm also a fan of. And then there's the larger globe. And so Buy a Bullet, what I decided to do was not standardize on the standards. Instead, standardize on options and availability that fits within this range, the wide range, not just this sector, the whole thing. So we don't carry garbage ammo, and we don't carry and garbage ammo. I mean, like stuff that was like some company last year, We Make Ammo LLC. It's unproven,
What?
you know. And I use that as an analogy, not an actual.
Oh, okay. I was about to
But
say.
there's a lot. So after the pandemic in 2021 and forward, there are a lot of companies that popped up out of nowhere as with these goofy, interesting names. I'll put it that way. Interesting company names of We Make Ammo or Ammo Plus and et cetera, et cetera. And they're outfits that have people producing ammo in some rented space or backyards and basements. And if there are specialty ammunition manufacturers out there, there's a lot of them in the US, but they have a background, and they're known entities, and they've got 10, 15 years of production. But folks that have no background, we just don't carry them. So they got to level up. But our product catalog is the largest ammunition product catalog in the US. It's right now 129 manufacturers from 28 countries, including the United States, of course. That question I get asked a lot. Oh, but do you have US and like federal? I'm like, yes, of course we have federal. Don't worry. We got Hornady. You got it.
That's good to hear, because I know I don't know, it was weird, but I have a love for Canics, and Canik is a Turkish firearm.
Yep, I'm aware. Yep.
Ironically enough, most of the ammo that I've come across has been Turkish ammo. Recently, I was using, I think it was, is it BPMS? I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know why. I love it. I love the presentation of the box. Love how the ammo works. Love how it cycles through the firearm. Never had any issues or stovepipes before.
Yep.
Versus, and try not to say any names here, but I've had, it was gimmick ammo. I just put it like that.
Yeah.
And everything stovepiped. It was made of brass, but for the most part, I think it was probably cheap brass or something. I don't know. It didn't matter what magazine I put it in. It didn't matter what firearm I fired it from. Everything was stovepiping.
So that can happen very commonly. Can happen stovepiping due to cases being out of specification. And consumers of ammunition, I'm going to speak broadly. Of course, I can't speak for every consumer, but I'm going to speak broadly. It just by like ammo's ammo. That's the thought. That's the presumption. Ammo's ammo. And it says 9mm on the box. It says 380 on the box. It says 22 on the box. So ammo's ammo. Factually, ammo is not ammo.
Right.
And I'm using another analogy, car tires. We're all adults. Everybody has driven a car or ridden in a car, and almost everybody that owns a car has bought tires at one time or another. And we all know that those cheap tires, the ones that are like 59.99, 49.97. Yeah, okay, per tire. Okay, it's a tire, but what happens when you need to drive in the rain and it's only like a quarter inch of rain?
Yeah.
We have all experienced that as the driver or as the rider, as the passenger. What happens then? And then what happens when it snows? Just a little bit of snow, half inch of snow. Where the hell you get these tires from? I got them from around the cut from over there at the tire shack. How much you pay for these tires? How much you pay for these tires? Well, I got a deal on it. It was like $200 for the whole set.
And I got a 12-piece of chicken because the chicken shack was next door to it.
Yep. You get what you got. You get what you got. You made the choice.
This is true.
So the application was car tires. The use case was to drive only in like you live in Arizona or somewhere, where there's never any snow, there's never any rain, it's always hot, right? And the roads are always dry. If that's your use case, God bless. They'll go with God and buy those cheap tires. But if you live in 90% of the United States where we get precipitation, might have been a mistake.
Right.
But you're going to learn, eventually. So the same thing with ammo. And so it's not just internally we have a term called click bang. We don't support click bang ammo. Just you put it in the gun, you pull the trigger, hammer goes click, gun goes bang, and oh yeah, there it is. Because you end up with all these kind of results. It's shotgun pattern results out of a person that otherwise could functionally align the sights at the target and has a firearm that's halfway decent. That's anything better than a Larson.
So on the topic of ammo that you trust, right? There are some, and I'm gonna say this without saying any names, but there are some people out there that prefer steel ammunition. I don't know why. Maybe like if they're using 7.62, they like the authentic Russian feel or whatever. When it comes to handguns, I don't know. I do own steel ammunition, but that's it. I will not fire it. For me, it's kind of like oh look, I do have steel 5.56, but yeah, it's not getting fired. It's more of a God forbid if I have to use it, it's there type deal. Do you have a firm stance against offering steel case ammunition? And if you do, why do you feel it's important not to list it, even if it is a potential sale?
Roger that. So I want to clarify on your question, just so that for listeners and watchers, viewers, that they can understand, there is, in the world of handgun, steel refers to the casing. So there's steel casing ammunition. In the world of rifle, there can either be steel casing, but very commonly is also steel projectile. But this projectile is not entirely steel. It is referred to as bimetal in industry. That's a real term. So it is a projectile that has a jacket over it. So it may be steel core with a lead jacket, or it may be steel core gilded with copper. Gilded meaning if you took the projectile and you effectively electrolysis, you dip it in a solution, apply electrolysis, and then over it comes a thin layer of another material, another metal, which is commonly done with 22. 22 LR is almost always gilded metal. So back to the question, I wanted to make sure that we delineate both, and I'm going to address all possibilities. So as it goes to steel cased ammunition, commonly people select that because it is the lowest price, cent per round, cheapest option that they can find of click bang ammo. And that's okay. If you're just, and your intent is just to shoot, something I commonly say, if you're just shooting at produce on a table and you're just producing YouTube videos for entertainment and giggles, like we've all seen this, watermelons and Pringles cans and lettuce They're just goofy, like just stuff,
Like 2A Gallagher.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be of an age to know about who Gallagher is. Absolutely. Absolutely. 2A Gallagher. I'm stealing it. Call a cop. It's stole. 2A Gallagher. If that's your thing, okay. This is still America. We're all entitled to have our own enjoyment as long as nobody's getting hurt, right?
Right.
But if your sincere interest is actually to again develop skill sets and to get better, then ammunition is a critical and central component of the overall package toward performance. Firearm, the hand, and the projectile that comes out of the firearm. So the problem with steel case ammo and handgun is that steel is a non-malleable product. It is a non-malleable metal. Malleable meaning it doesn't bend, it doesn't give, it doesn't yield under pressure. Brass does. There's a whole reason, a large reason, why the industry adopted brass over 120 years ago for both a rifle, handgun, and it was used for shotgun for ages until the 70s when we moved to polymer. And so the brass is malleable. It is a soft metal, and along with aluminum. So aluminum has been another one of the aluminum cases. It's another one that was adopted in the late 90s, early 00s for ammunition to keep pricing down. But steel does not yield under pressure. So you've got a couple of issues that occur. When it's chambered, steel is hard on the extractor. Steel on steel results in friction, and that friction over time will wear down your extractor. And then when you fire the casing, the round, the casing does not expand. So let's say that this is the throat of the gun. So from your perspective over here, this is where the round goes in. Okay. And then the projectile comes out towards me. All right. For orientation purposes. The throat here in this area normally would be the base or in the primer, right, of the case. So at this end, on the opposite end, is where the projectile sits within the casing. So when it fires, when the striker or the hammer, firing pin strikes the primer, the casing that is normally this size becomes this size. It expands. All of us have seen that. Everyone has seen. If you fired a handgun or rifle that has a brass casing, you've seen this. You pick it up on the ground. It's expanded. That's why it has to be resized, and you have to go through all of that process when you go to reload brass ammo. And the purpose of that, the benefit of that, is that expansion seals the chamber. It's a no-brainer after that. If you understand that mechanics, it's a no-brainer. It seals the chamber, so all of that pressure, all that gas velocity is going forward out of the barrel, past the muzzle. It's behind the base of the projectile and pushing it forward. But if it's not sealed, vis-a-vis a steel case, then what occurs is you get some of that, a percentage of that, not 100%, but you get a percentage of that going forward. You get a percentage of it coming back as well into the action. So again, I'm holding the gun in this direction and your action's here. And that's why, and this isn't Henry Pope saying it, ask anybody that shot steel case ammo. What's their action look like before and after? It's filthy. It's filthy. And then also when the action is on a semi-automatic, when the action's opening and closing, what's their gun look like? It's like a person, a third party standing off to the side. Looks like a chimney. Well, why is that? It's because all of that GSR, gunshot residue, is coming back past because it didn't seal. And then that casing gets ejected. So the extractor, and again, it's steel on steel. Extractors are made out of steel, typically tool steel. Basically, it's a low grade or a softer grade of steel. So you've got that steel against another steel, and you get premature wear for no good reason. You don't notice it with each pass. You don't notice it individually, but you will notice it over time.
I don't know why, in a sense, the whole scenario is kind of reminding me of coal mining, because it's dirty. You're wearing away at something, and then by the time you get done, you have a lot of wear and tear, and on top of that, you have a lot to clean up.
A
It
lot
just
to
doesn't
clean up,
sound like it's
and
yeah.
ultimately you're going to replace your gun parts. And then
Mm-hmm.
the worst part of it, the point of saving money, right,
Mm-hmm.
is, oh, I want to save money so that I can shoot more trigger time, so that I can
Mm-hmm.
improve my capability, right, so that I can shoot less because I actually have skill sets now. That's the mindset.
Oh.
But what happens, again, just using physics, and I'm going to use kid physics. What happens when a kid throws a softball and wings it, right? The ball generally goes to where they are looking and hits the target that they intended, the person with the mitt. But what happens when that same kid lobs it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lobbing it versus winging it, it's less velocity. Well, that lob goes like this, and it may hit the target, it may not. And then what happens when that same kid who doesn't know, whose parent, father or mother, didn't teach them how to throw? We've all seen this as kid physics. That kid that has never thrown anything, or just doesn't know, it has no natural skill sets, no natural athleticism, and that kid comes along and he's like, like that. It goes anywhere and everywhere but where it's supposed to. Again, velocity. So going back to ammunition and steel case, if the velocity is less and it's inconsistent because the ceiling is not there, then what happens to the projectile that has left the gun? Unpredictable, and your grouping is 5 MOA and worse.
Wow. I
And
don't
the
know why
person
it
won't
sounds
know
like
this.
it,
So they'll be
it's
pulling triggers and chasing the tail of the dragon. They won't know this. So they're like, okay, my first shot was over here, but my second shot was down there. So now let me aim down here. So they aim there, but now it's over here. Oh, snap. So let me aim there. And next thing you know, it's a connect the dot puzzle. Again, kid physics. It's a connect the dot puzzle that we've all seen. It's just like, right?
yeah, it's
Whereas
almost like you're
if you just bought proper ammunition, I won't say it's improper, but if you bought better ammunition to start with, then you will get much better performance, consistency, which leads to
mhm.
accuracy, which leads to reduced trigger time because you're able to develop skill sets, the same skill sets you're seeking with the steel, able to develop those skill sets more quickly. So you spend less time on the range, wasting your time, which is less money on the ground, cents per round, for each one of those steel casings that are on the ground.
Right. And on top of that, you also save money with your range time as well, because depending on the type of range you go to, they may allow you to shoot all day. They may allow you to shoot only for a certain amount of hours, or
That's
they may
another
charge for the
fact.
hours.
Yeah, especially that's a super fact with indoor ranges.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're renting line space by the hour, or half hour, hour and a half. So again, now you got to come back. Your hour's done. You're getting kicked off. Now you got to come back and try again. Start from zero, by the way.
Yep. Yep.
So why do that to yourself when
And
you can, instead of saving a penny per round or even 3 cents per round? Oh my God, oh my gosh, it's a whole 3 cents more. Yeah, but you get what you pay for. And
mm,
what are we talking about? If you bought 50 rounds and it's 3 cents more, I mean, come on. What are we
it
talking
makes sense.
about?
It makes sense. I mean,
Yeah,
Will, do you have anything to add, man? Because I mean, watching you shoot, it's like you want to make sure that what's the old adage? Fast is slow, slow is smooth. But you don't want to be out there just trying to be fast and messing everything up. I mean, that's not the adage, but I think you kind of understand where I'm going. You don't just want to go out there and mag dump just for the sake of mag dumping,
yeah,
especially whenever you are spending one of the most valuable resources that anybody can have in this world, which is time. So,
yeah.
what do you think, Will?
Yeah, well, as far as that goes, for me, it's practical accuracy more than precision. So I don't need all the rounds to impact the same spot because I typically don't shoot slow enough for that to happen. for that to be a realistic goal, if that makes sense. Now, if I'm
Mhm.
shooting groups, absolutely, I want the clover leaf, right? But if I'm shooting the way I normally would do when I'm practicing, if I'm shooting the way I would at a match, then I want all my rounds in a specific area, but uh, not in the same spot, if that makes sense. That's not really my goal, because
Yep.
there's an acceptable target area, just like in self-defense, there's an acceptable area. So for me, that's the biggest part. But he's right about consistency. Whereas if you have a round that's every third round is, the velocity is different, or it comes out of the barrel different because of the way it did or didn't seal against the chamber, and you're getting different pressures, then that can absolutely affect your score 100%.
And then I'm going to back up Will. So whether you're shooting for micrometer level precision, or you're shooting as action shooting in a sport, or you're shooting for defensive purposes, whether it's civilian or LE, your area of acceptable hits remains the same. So I'm going to use again my body because I'm looking at myself. So I'm going to use myself as an example. If I were needing to target an area, and take my glasses off, to target an area that is literally my eye, which is this diameter, is about the size of an acorn, then whether I'm shooting fast or slow, my acceptable area, the area that I need to hit, is that. It remains that. So I have to have the ability to apply accuracy to precision within time to that space. Now, let's say that instead it's now the oval of my head. It's a larger surface area, frontal surface, because that's what I'm looking at, not the total area. It's a larger area, but I still the requirements remain the same. I got to get around somewhere there within time, within some amount of time. Likewise for my torso, roughly 18 inches across. That's normal for American males, down to my waist, and whatever that rectangle comes out to be, typically about 16 inches. So again, you need to get hits somewhere within time. So as it goes to steel case ammo, and I'm going to move on to the steel projectile in a moment, but as it goes to steel case ammo and invariability or inconsistency as it goes to velocity, aka pressure, is pressure within the barrel, and its velocity of the projectile thereafter by way of the pressure from within the barrel. So the velocity of the projectile as it leaves the barrel. Regardless of what the target surface is, regardless of the time that's allowed, the one thing that is affected negatively is error, degree of error. You need to hit here, you can't hit anywhere else. So if you hit anywhere else, error. You need to hit here and not anywhere else. You hit anywhere else, error. You need to hit here, but you hit anywhere else, like you're in CVS or a grocery store. Example, the shooting that happened in New Hampshire. I'm sorry, let's pick Maine, at the bowling alley, right? So that dude goes into a bowling alley and murks a whole bunch of people. And if there had been a me or a Will or yourself that was armed in that moment at the bowling alley, which I do go to the bowling alley and I do go armed. You're at the bowling alley. If this is the target, or this is the target, or that's the target, your acceptable degree of error is zero, because that means everybody else that's behind, other innocent people that are minding their own doggone business. So you're out here carrying not you personally, but the person has chambered in their gun substandard ammo or low quality ammo, or steel case ammo. It's made by a brand that is well known, but they're only producing it because of demand, because people keep asking for it. And they have a whole other string of options and of product offerings that are better. You choose that. Well, what happens when you fire that and your point of aim was here, or your point of aim was here, or your point of aim was here, but where's your point of impact?
I don't know why it's almost kind of it's reminding me of the whole thing where you're shooting 2.23 at a 5.56. We all know that you can't do the reversal. You do the reversal, it's not going to end well because of the pressures. However, if you shoot 2.23 out of 5.56, if I'm remembering correctly, it's possible to do it, but because the pressure isn't exactly the same as if you were shooting 5.56 out of 5.56, it's not going to be as accurate. And the other analogy I'm thinking of is if your rounds are doing this and you're not getting near where you need to hit them at, it borderline sounds like an acceptable squib load in a sense where it's like it fires, you don't have that poof, but you're not getting what you need all the way. It's just it shoots, it goes click pop. That's about it. So
I'm going
that's
to
what
use
I'm
a
taking
different.
from it.
I'm going to use a different analogy again. Something that everyone, whether they're a shooter or not, can understand. Who's past like age 15.
Mhm.
Going back to cars, gasoline. Everybody has put gasoline in a car. Everybody has put gasoline in a lawnmower, right?
Mhm.
And many people have put gasoline in a chainsaw. Chainsaws are straight up utilitarian outside of for professional use. Commonly, people just buy a chainsaw, they throw it in the garage, and when they need it, they stroke it, it starts, they cut some stuff up, they put it away. Gasoline, they don't really care. They just whatever the cheapest gas I can find, right? If you can find 87, you just fill it up, you know. And every city, every town, everywhere that sells fuel has that one station, that one fuel station that is the questionable one, and we all know it, right? We all know it. We don't know exactly. It says 87 or 89 on the sticker on the pump, but we know from past experience, life experience, and talking to other folks that that's the joint that you don't really want to put that in your good car, right?
Right.
That's the thing that you put in the chainsaw, as well as for the kids' go kart. If you grew like I did, if you grew up with a go kart, right? Whether you made one or your pops was eight, your people were able to buy you one, the go kart. Because again, it's just the kids. It's just the kids stuff. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have to have performance. It doesn't matter if it makes all kinds of black smoke and it doesn't last, but a year. It doesn't matter. But then we go to the lawnmower, and if we have the lawnmower, the push ones, no one generally cares about that either. But if you got the riding lawnmower, the garden tractor joint, that it's basically the size of or the cost of like a small motorcycle. You spent
The
$2,000
John
on.
Deere.
You want
Yeah.
it to work exactly. You run it to run, so you don't go and buy that cheap. You don't buy that cheap fuel. You get the 87. You might get the 89. You might get the 91, and then same with the car. And for my era, I grew up with a Chevy Chevette, super old school. You just put whatever, you could put as long as the car turned on, yeah, 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 it ran, you didn't really care, right? But
Right.
go to grandpa's car, the old 88 Brougham, and try to do that. No, you know better, right? Life experience. No, you put the good fuel in there. Same thing applies here. So if your application is just low level, and you're just having fun shooting at produce on a table, shooting into the woods at random stuff, okay, enjoy. This is America. But if you have any other interest in developing real skill sets, being able to shoot, whether it's fast or slow, whether it's a large target or a small target, if you have interest in developing a capability, practical shooting, I strongly back what Will said, practical shooting, functional shooting. Why in the heck would you handicap yourself? Why would you think to do that outside of just product ignorance? And that's common in our space, product ignorance.
Yeah, and it seems like you said, you're not just selling click pop ammunition. Your whole brand seems like it's quality ammunition, providing a lifetime, almost in a sense, like a silent lifetime guarantee that you do not want to damage, or you want to prevent as much damage as possible on your customers' firearms. And there's also the education aspect as well, which is something that you don't really see from your competition, if you will, that will let you put in a certain type of ammunition, be it caliber, name, whatever. It's like, hey, I want 9mm. Okay, cool. So we've got this steel, we've got this remanufactured. We're going to show you these first because these are the cheapest ammunitions that you could buy. That being said, we are actually dealing with the post-pandemic market. And shooters do need to shift from survival mode, i.e., perfect example, during the pandemic, they're like, if you don't have the caliber, just buy the ammunition anyway.
Yeah, that was mistakes made too.
Oh, that was ridiculous. But how would you recommend getting shooters to shift from that survival mode mindset to more value-based investing in ammunition and education as well?
Well, one thing I want to mention or just touch on that you said that lifetime guarantee. We offer no. Bible is not able to offer a guarantee on anything. That comes down to the manufacturer of their own ammunition, because we don't make the ammo, of course. We just retail it. But what we do is, again, we just don't carry that the ammunition that has suspicious quality. There are many different standards, by the way, of ammunition production. Most people are familiar with SAAMI standards, SAAMI. And then most people are familiar with the generalized term of mil spec. Yeah, exactly.
Good enough.
Exactly. Exactly. If you know, you know. But if you don't know, you don't know. You know. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more as it goes to this industry for ammunition. So what we've done is we've curated the choices that are respected and respectable. And then from there, as it goes to helping the customer and us being different than other retailers, Buy a Bullet was designed to supplement / replace local gun shops. Supplement because rather than for a gun shop at your local gun shops, rather than having your your floor space, retail space is really expensive. Anybody that has been involved or is familiar with retail space on square footage, cost per square foot, it's very expensive. It's valuable. So having shelving upon shelving upon shelving of ammunition sitting, just waiting for someone to randomly possibly come in and buy one box or three, that is taking away potential profit value from your local gun shop. A better model. Oh, and also there's the carrying cost for that. So that shelving that's there, what's on the shelf is ammunition that was bought prospectively, is financed for purchase, and there is an interest rate applied to that, not just monthly, but daily. And that's all the total or part of the total carrying costs for that acquisition, that procurement. So for a local gun shop to instead refer their potential customers to a Buy a Bullet for ammunition, which we are dedicated to, we don't sell firearms, we don't sell all the other things, then the local gun shop can sell the firearms and the other things, optics, clothing. It's turkey season now. You should already be squared away, but if you aren't, you should be looking at decoys, which have a large attraction and demand. You should be looking at absolutely, clothing and etc. So all that stuff sells better sitting in those same shelves in that same footprint, floor space, and you can rotate it. So you can roll it when turkey season, spring turkey season transitions into fall deer, or depending on where you are, your region, waterfowl hunting. It's space that has greater value rather than just be stuck there sitting with ammo that you bought 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and has dust on it. We've all been in local gun shops where you pick up the box and it literally is dusty, right? And the consumer don't know any better, but ammunition does degrade over time, as well as due to exposure to elements, heat and cold cycles. So having fresher ammo versus not fresh ammo is better. And then as it goes to the online retailer, and again to the consumer, Our focus is on education, along with, of course, the consumable, the actual product. So we have the forum where Will is at, which is called Bullet Points. And within that, Will has a space called Range Therapist. And then we have the resources area. And so it's about providing the consumer. I'm going to borrow from that really cheesy commercial from the 80s, Men's Warehouse. You know what I'm going to say. An educated consumer is our best customer. But it's facts. Again, it's facts.
This is true.
It's facts. And a consumer that knows and understands or will listen and spend the time to gain some knowledge is far better than those that don't. And so I'm going to transition to Will so I don't steal all the time. But for Will, it's the same thing. If you have a person that shows up asking for instruction, right? They want instruction, but they refuse to listen. They refuse to be instructable.
Mm-hmm.
They refuse to level up, to gain them, to improve in their educational knowledge, their basis of understanding of things. It's a horrible customer. It's hard to work with.
Mm-hmm. I'll be honest with you. I have a ammunition subscription right now, and honestly, after this interview / conversation, if you will, I'm considering canceling it because, number one, I don't think I'm getting the value for what I'm subscribing to, if you will. I mean, it's random brands of ammunition, which, don't get me wrong, some of them I've used before, no issue, like a PMC, or ammo.com. I've used those before, but it's not always guaranteed to be those brands. Versus, like, if I go to buy a bullet and I know for a fact that the ammunition quality that is being sold from that website is a lot better, and there's the education behind it. Honestly, I would much rather spend my $100 per bi-weekly or monthly or whatever on something like that versus, like, hey, we got this random grab bag of potentially good ammo, potentially ammo that may not be good, and hey, it may click and go bang.
Yeah.
So this has been really enlightening. I definitely thank y'all. Thank you for that.
And the other thing I want to mention to that, this has been a common question that we've been asked from our general liability insurance underwriter, from the bank. So those that on the commercial side, on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a question that's been asked on the front end by potential customers and potential consumers. Are you a subscription model? Are you a membership model, in the sense of, do I have to have a minimum that I have to buy per week, per month, per anything? And the answer is no, not at all. We're not here to duplicate the KTEL Records model. And we're not here to push onto you. And this is it's a common thing in a lot of industries now, but we're not here to push onto you mandatory purchasing of whatever the cheapest, whatever we can find in volume that gives us the greatest profit value, that then we can say, okay, well, there we go. You bought it for $100. That's your value. No. If you choose to spend $100 with us, and if you choose to reach out, contact us at buyaBullet.com. It's that simple. Or just go to the website, the first page, the lead page at the bottom. It's contact us area. Just ask, hey, what's your application? What's your use case? And what's your budget? What are you looking to do that's realistic? Who can help you take that $100 for that 1 month and improve your actual performance. And then if you don't choose to come back in the second month, but you come back in the third month, because we didn't require you to spend $100 every month, you actually end up spending less money while getting better quality ammunition, and we're helping you become more knowledgeable. So therefore, you're more capable as a pro 2A enthusiast and promoter to other people. That way, everybody wins, and there's nobody being sad faced or even straight faced. Everybody wins.
This the Black Powder Podcast, let's get explicit. We got the wisdom hitting targets with a marksman precision. We're having fun in the booth, we're running gun for the truth. Every future black gun owner, we're spreading the news. We do illegal, we're moving regal and blessing the people.